All right. So we're back for another deep dive. And you guys have really piled on the sources this time.
Yeah, this is quite a stack.
It looks like someone's been doing their homework on processed foods.
Definitely.
Well, good for you, listener, because honestly, who isn't fascinated by processed food?
It's everywhere.
It really is. And I think what's really interesting is you sent in a bunch of stuff that's all about like really getting to the nitty-gritty of the differences between those highly processed foods versus the minimally processed foods.
Right.
Which I think is really smart because there's so much talk about processed foods being bad. But like, what does that actually mean?
Exactly. Where's the line?
Where is that line? And we're going to be looking, by the way, at cost comparisons.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, already I'm intrigued because I think we all know that unfortunately eating healthy can be more expensive.
Yeah.
And then we even have this Make America Healthy Again angle that we're going to be diving into.
I love it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But first, let's like really nail down what we're even talking about when we say highly processed versus minimally processed.
Okay.
Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the PDFs you sent is titled The Healthy Food Basket. And it's really helpful for this because Dr. Newmoten, who wrote it, actually put together these 2 food baskets of like 30 common foods each to illustrate this difference.
So it's like a nutritional face-off.
Exactly.
Right, I'm into it.
And so like on the highly processed side, you have kind of your usual suspects, you know.
Right.
Frozen pizza, instant noodles, those kinds of things.
Sure.
Convenient snack chips, even things like commercially produced peanut butters.
Oh, interesting. So peanut butter can be highly processed too, depending on
how it's made and what's in it. Exactly.
Okay. So that's the naughty list. What about the minimally processed basket? I'm imagining like, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables.
Of course. Yeah. So fresh fruits, we've got milk, eggs.
Okay. It's the good stuff.
The staples. But then, this is interesting, sliced bread is on there too.
Wait, sliced bread?
Yeah.
How is sliced bread minimally processed?
It's a good illustration of how there's kind of a spectrum, right?
Okay.
Because, I mean, sliced bread can have some preservatives in it.
Sure.
But it's still, you know, a far cry from a frozen dinner.
Right, right.
So it's all relative.
So it's not like this black and white thing. It's not like processed equals bad.
Right.
It's about the degree of processing.
Exactly. And the Healthy Food Basket PDF actually breaks down the nutritional content of each of these baskets. And it's actually really interesting because the highly processed foods, while they do have, like, you know, technically protein, carbs, fats.
You need those macronutrients.
They do. But they lack a lot of essential vitamins and minerals.
So hypothetically, you could survive on a diet of just highly processed foods.
Technically, maybe.
Yeah.
But would you want to?
No.
And for how long? Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it wouldn't be a very healthy or like sustainable way to live, I imagine.
Exactly. It'd be like trying to run a car on fumes.
Oh.
Like, it might work for a while.
Yeah.
But you're going to break down eventually.
That's a good analogy. Okay, so what about the minimally processed basket?
Yeah.
How does its nutritional profile compare?
As you might expect, it's a much more well-rounded picture. You've got all those vitamins and minerals that you need to really thrive.
So in the nutritional face-off, minimally processed foods are winning.
It seems so.
So far. But does this actually translate to better health outcomes?
Well, according to the Healthy Food Basket, the answer is yes.
Okay.
It says that minimally processed foods tend to be lower in things like added sugars, unhealthy fats, and sodium, all the things that we know can kind of catch up with us over time.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the document also linked highly processed foods to like a higher risk of chronic diseases like, you know, heart disease.
Yeah. Heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, the whole gang.
Yeah. Okay, so it's looking like minimally processed foods are the way to go.
Right.
And there's always a but, right?
There's always a but.
The Healthy Food Basket PDF actually points out that eating healthy can be more expensive.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a truth we have to face.
Bummer. All right, so lay it on me. What's the damage?
So the document actually breaks down the cost, and it says that a 2,500 calorie diet based on highly processed foods could cost you somewhere between $180 and $20 or $40 per month.
Oh, okay. That's not terrible.
Not terrible. But here's the catch.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
If you switch to a 2,500 calorie diet based on minimally processed foods, you're looking at $240 to $360 per month.
Okay. That's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a significant jump.
I mean, that's like almost $120 more.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Oof. Well, no wonder they call it Make America Healthy Again. I mean, that's a whole program right there.
It is. It's a huge hurdle.
Especially, like, if you think about, this incoming Trump administration, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. heading Health and Human Services.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Like, how are they going to tackle that, right?
Absolutely.
The cost barrier to healthy eating.
For sure.
It's huge. Okay, so we've got this healthy food basket telling us all about the nutritional differences, the cost differences, the health implications.
Right.
But you also send in some stuff on soft addiction.
Yeah.
And this idea of molecular fragmentation, which honestly, my brain is already a little bit fried, but
yeah.
Let's dip our toes into those a little bit, because those seem like they're like a whole other level of like how processed foods are messing with us.
Yeah, they really are.
So without like giving away all the juicy details, because we want you to stick around, can you give us like a little sneak peek into what those sources are all about?
Yeah, so we don't have a ton of details in the sources you sent, but the basic idea, at least with soft addiction, is that some of these highly processed foods could be triggering similar reward pathways in our brains.
Oh, wow.
As addictive substances.
So it's not just like the calories and the fat and the sugar that are making us want to eat
No,
them.
right. It's like they're designed to like hook us.
Hook us.
Yeah. Oh, that's creepy.
It is kind of creepy. And then with molecular fragmentation, it's this idea that when you process food to like a really, really fine degree, you're basically breaking it down into these tiny particles that our bodies might not actually know what to do with.
Oh, so it's like we're eating food, but it's not really food anymore.
It's kind of, it's like this weird foreign substance.
Oh, that's freaky.
It's a little freaky.
Okay, so we've got the nutritional stuff, we've got the cost stuff, and then we've got these like mind-bending concepts of addiction and fragmentation.
There's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
Literally. Well, buckle up, listener, because this deep dive is going to get deep. It really is. I mean, it makes you think twice about just like grabbing those, easy processed meals. Yeah. But let's like rewind a little bit and go back to the healthy food basket.
Okay.
Because like I was looking at some of the specific foods.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that peanut butter was on the highly processed list.
Yeah, that's a good one to point out because it shows like how even within one type of food,
right,
there can be different levels of processing, right?
Yeah.
So like some peanut butters are basically just ground up peanuts with a little bit of salt.
Right, that's the good stuff.
That would be considered minimally processed.
Yeah.
But a lot of like the commercial brands, they have added sugars, they have hydrogenated oils, they might have preservatives.
Yeah.
And that bumps them up into the highly processed category.
So it's not just the food itself, it's like what they've done to it and what they've added to it.
Exactly. And that applies to a lot of the things on that highly processed list, like frozen dinners.
Yeah.
Those have a ton of ingredients beyond just the like basic foods.
Yeah.
They have preservatives, artificial flavors, coloring, stabilizers.
Which I guess like from a food manufacturing standpoint, that makes sense because you want to keep things, on the shelf longer.
Right.
You want it to like taste good. You want the texture to be right.
Exactly. It's all about shelf life and palatability.
Yeah.
But it seems like that comes at a cost, right?
To our health.
To our health, exactly. And that's what the healthy food basket points out.
Yeah.
Is that, those additives, they serve a purpose.
Sure.
But they're contributing to these potential health risks.
Yeah, totally. What about the minimally processed basket? Was there anything in there that like surprised you?
Well, I think we already talked about sliced bread.
I know. I'm still stuck on the sliced bread.
It's a tricky one.
It's a mind bender.
But remember, it's all about the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Sliced bread, even though it has those added preservatives, it's still pretty close to its original form.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been milled, it's been mixed, it's been baked, it's been sliced.
Right.
But it hasn't gone through like a crazy transformation process like a bag of chips has.
Right.
Or like a frozen pizza.
So it's like degrees of separation from the original ingredient.
Exactly.
So it seems like the minimally processed basket is really all about like going back to basics.
Yeah.
Like whole unadulterated foods as much as possible.
As much as possible, yeah. It's about minimizing those additives. Preservatives, artificial ingredients, all that stuff.
And I know we talked about the cost implications of that.
Right.
But it seems like it's also just like a mindset shift.
It is. It's definitely a mindset shift.
It's like rethinking our relationship with food and being like, okay, we're going to prioritize our health.
Right.
Even if it means like putting in a little extra effort.
Absolutely.
Speaking of effort, I can't help but think about this Make America Healthy Again thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Healthy Food Basket PDF actually talks about like how difficult it is to actually promote healthy eating habits on a national scale.
Yeah.
Especially given the cost difference.
Yeah, they actually say the cost difference is significant.
Mm-hmm.
They estimate a highly processed diet is going to cost you like $180 to $240 a month.
Right.
But then a minimally processed diet is like $240 to $360.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
That's huge. And I mean, that's just based on the numbers from a while ago.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is now with all the inflation going on.
Exactly. Things are probably even pricier now.
Yeah. So this new administration, they have their work cut out for them.
They do. It's a complex issue.
Because on the one hand, you want to encourage people to eat healthy.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have to be realistic about, like, the economic situation that a lot of people are in.
Absolutely. It's a balancing act.
Okay, so we've talked about the healthy food basket, the nutritional stuff, the cost stuff.
Right.
But let's touch on those other, like, kind of trippy concepts.
Yeah.
Soft addiction and molecular fragmentation.
Right.
You know, I know we don't have a ton of detail from the sources you sent in on those.
Right.
But do you think those things actually play a significant role in our food choices and, like, our overall health?
I think they're definitely worth exploring further.
Yeah, it's like the more we dig into this, the more we realize, like, how much we don't know about processed food and how it affects us.
Absolutely. There's so much more to uncover. They really are. I mean, it makes you wonder how much is really going on beneath the surface.
Right. It's like we're only just starting to understand how all this processed food is actually affecting us.
I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, we have this healthy food basket PDF laying out the basics, like the nutrition and the costs. But then you've got these other sources bringing in these ideas of soft addiction and molecular fragmentation, and it just shows you how much more there is to learn.
It feels like we're peeling back the layers of an onion.
Totally. And with every layer we peel back, there's a whole new level of complexity.
Yeah, and it really underscores the need for, like, more research in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to keep digging deeper to really understand what's going on.
For sure. Well, listener, we've thrown a lot of information at you today.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, we've talked about what highly processed and minimally processed foods even are.
Right.
We've broken down the nutritional differences. We've explored the potential health risks.
Yeah.
And we've even touched on, like, the economic and political challenges of trying to promote healthier eating habits.
It's a big, complicated issue.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what's standing out to you as, like, the most impactful takeaway from this whole deep dive?
Well, I think if we go back to the listener's original question about the differences between highly processed and minimally processed foods. Right.
The Healthy Food Basket PDF does a great job of showing that it's not about saying all processed food is bad.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding that there's this spectrum.
A spectrum of processing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can make informed choices based on, like, your own individual needs and priorities.
So how can we actually put all this knowledge into action? Like, what are some practical steps we can take as consumers?
Well, I think becoming more aware of what's in our food is huge.
Yeah.
Read those labels.
Yeah.
Don't just look at the calories, but really pay attention to the ingredient list. A good rule of thumb is, like, the fewer ingredients, the better.
So it's like becoming a food detective.
Yeah. And if you see a bunch of ingredients that sound like they came from a chemistry lab,
Yeah.
that might be a sign to, you know, think twice.
Proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution, exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of cooking at home more often.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
You get to control the ingredients, you know exactly what's going in your food.
And you can adjust the level of processing. Exactly. Plus, it can be a lot of fun, and it's often cheaper than buying those pre-packaged, highly processed meals.
There's definitely something satisfying about creating a meal from scratch.
Absolutely.
And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Every step you take towards eating more minimally processed foods is a step in the right direction.
So well said. All right, listener, this has been an amazing deep dive.
It has.
We've really explored the world of processed foods from every angle.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. We've talked about the nutrition, the potential health risks, the economics, even the politics of it all.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. But as always, we want to leave you with something to think about. Knowing what we know now about the potential downsides of highly processed foods and the benefits of minimally processed options, what steps can you take to create a healthier, more mindful relationship with food?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is, and hopefully this deep dive has given you the knowledge and the inspiration to start making those changes.
I hope so too.
Until next time, happy eating and keep exploring.